and start walking. Where will the shadow go? The shadow will follow. So instead of running after the name, the fame and honor, this and that, let me perform my karma on the basis of swadharma and walk. The shadow will constantly follow me. The name, fame, honor, whatever you desire for will constantly follow you. There's no need to run after that. So this is the secret. Turn around. Become a karma yogi. And you will achieve whatever you want to. You will achieve whatever fruit you think of. You do not even have to think for the fruit because it is constantly following you. But there, he cautions Arjuna. With renunciation of all fascinations and influences of company, and by maintaining a balance between success and failure, stabilize in yoga and perform altruistic action, the feeling of equality is said to be yoga. And this is how the secret further shares that you become carefree. Don't desire also for the fruit. What fruit will I get? No. Renounce all the fascinations and influence of the company also. Don't get influenced by the company. That is why it is said, Sang tare kusang duboe. So once we get influenced by the company, then also we deviate from our path. And by maintaining a balance between success and failure, and if I stabilize myself in this yoga, in this communion with my swadharma, and perform altruistic action, the feeling of equality is said to be yoga. Another thing further he advises is, yoga is the efficiency in performing action with the feelings of equality within the intellect. The intellect has to be stabilized like a balance. When this wandering, unstable intellect will stabilize in deep concentrated meditation, you will attain the highest stage in yoga and the state of immortality. You will become immortal. Just like those great people who have become immortal in the world, from whose life so many people take inspiration still today. So this is what the art of karma yoga God taught Arjuna. Not just one Arjuna, but all of us Arjunas. And then he tells about the signs of a person with a stable intellect. And he says, when a person conquers the mind and renounces all its fascinations, then the soul is contented from within and has a stable intellect. Such a self-contented great personality is sthita pragya. Pragya means the intellect, sthita means stable. So then we have sthita pragya. Then we are able to have a stable intellect. The second is a person who is able to wind up all his senses like a tortoise and take them away from the taste of vices like a tortoise is a sthita pragya. So the qualifications of a person with a stable intellect, Yudhishthir, that we should know how to wind up our senses from the vices. Just as the tortoise brings out its senses to perform karma, as soon as the karma is over, he will withdraw, take in, and he is safe in that shell. Similarly, the one who uses the senses as instruments, and after the karma is over, we withdraw ourselves, then we are sthita pragya. The power to wind up and the inculcation of introvertness are derived from the experience of soul consciousness. When I stabilize myself in the consciousness of my swadharma, soul consciousness, then I'm able to go within, I'm able to wind up my senses, because then I have this feeling that I am the master of the senses. I should not be pulled by the senses, but I am the one who should use my senses in the right manner, in the right way. So this is how we can become self-sovereign soul. We can achieve that self-sovereignty in this world. Otherwise, God says, as a strong wind sweeps away a boat on water, similarly, a mind which is completely influenced by its senses loses its conscience, loses the viveka. The one who has complete authority of his senses is called sthit pragya. Having that mastery upon the senses is called sthit pragya. The one who has mastery over the senses is able to inculcate the imperishable divine knowledge. Then the gates open to inculcate the divine knowledge. This knowledge, once inculcated, remains forever. It does not go away, because the knowledge is also immortal. So that is how we achieve that immortality, being in this world also. Then Arjuna asked, what is the path? That when the intellect moves away from the right path, when it is deviated, when it is destroyed, what is the basis that destroys? God says, a person who contemplates on vices and gets fascinated by them develops a desire for them. When the lust is not fulfilled, he gets angry. Anger awakens the wrong conscience that delusions the consciousness. And when the consciousness loses its path, the concentration and faith in the intellect is destroyed. This is how योग परायण बुद्धि नष्ट हो जाती है. It is destroyed. Thus, altruistic karma yoga is rightly called buddhi yoga, that is mastering your intellect also, having control upon your intellect also. So, very easy method is shown by God. And finally, when he sums up the second chapter, he says, a person who does not use the method of yoga is deprived of the intellect to perform selfless action. The heart of such a person who does not have that ability cannot have any feelings. Those who is not towards the yoga with the swadharma cannot have the ability towards any feelings. And one without feelings cannot be peaceful. A peaceless person can never attain everlasting happiness. That is the eternal truth. So yoga is the science of self-culture, self-discipline. One cannot get happiness with a disturbed mind. He who is indifferent to soul elevation science paves the way for self-annihilation. We destroy ourselves. So if we do not learn this art of self-culture, self-discipline, we are moving towards the path of self-destruction. We destroy our existence from this world forever. In the third chapter, from verse 1 to 8, the narration of the need for Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Here again, Arjuna asks a question to God, which is more powerful? Jnana Yoga is more powerful or Karma Yoga is more powerful? Which should I follow? Which many of us also have this question. Do we need to follow the path of knowledge or do we need to follow the path of action? So the same question which Arjuna had, which are in the intellects of today's people, the answer is given by God. From verse 9 to verse 16, the narration of the need for sacrificial fire and such other karmas. From verse 17 to 24, the need for knowledgeable soul and God to perform actions that benefit the society. From verse 25 to 35, characteristics of ignorant souls and knowledgeable souls and the inspiration to perform action that are beyond attachment and hatred. And from verse 36 to 43, the subject on the hindrance of lust. The one who are never contented by the gratification of lust and anger, which are compared to fire, are great sinners. The knowledge gets submerged due to lust and anger. And so the first question of Arjuna is, Jnana Yoga elevated or Karma Yoga? Which should I follow? Should I follow the path of knowledge? Should I follow the path of karma? Beautiful answer that is given by God, that the path of knowledge is for the knowledgeful ones, and the selfless path of action for yogis. According to both the paths, action is a must. We cannot get away from action. Action is compulsory. Whether we are following the path of knowledge also, we have to perform our actions. All the souls perform actions depending upon the gunas, whether it is sato guna, rajo guna or tamo guna, created by nature. The soul is considered elevated who has control over his senses, completely detaches his mind and then performs karma yoga with his senses. That is, whilst fulfilling his daily duties with the help of his body, makes progress in these spiritual efforts. So, karma yoga is best, but with knowledge. When the karma is performed with proper understanding, then we progress on the spiritual path. So how can we combine the path of knowledge and the path of action together? So it is like the combination of both. And when we do that, that is the highest. Not only the path of knowledge, people just taking knowledge and nothing in practical action, people doing action and no wisdom in that practical action, both are like halfway. Both are not complete. But when any action done with proper understanding, with proper wisdom, that will enable us to progress in the spiritual efforts also, in our spiritual endeavors also. And then he talks about karma yoga, the duties of human beings from time immemorial. And he talks about the yajna. The process of yajna is action itself. Now if we look at this first line, the process of yajna is action itself, through which the yajna is accomplished. So what does yajna mean here? Whatever is done other than yajna is a bondage. It creates a... So what is yajna? What is a sacrificial fire? Today, in the world we find wherever there are yajnas formed, wherever there are yajnas performed, the intention is purification. Either purification of the environment. When a person goes to stay in a new house, he performs yajna. Why? To purify the atmosphere of that house, so that there are no evils in that place. So whenever any pure task has to be accomplished, a yajna is performed, a sacrificial fire which purifies. So actually, God advises, why don't you make this life a yajna? In any yajna, in any sacrificial fire, we sacrifice three things. One is the rice with the husk on. jaw. Second is till, mustard seeds. And the,